Off the rocky coasts of New England, fishermen sometimes speak of mermaids. Not the bright creatures of children's tales, but something older, something quieter. They sit on moonlit rocks, combing their long hair with their fingers, singing songs in a language that sounds almost familiar but never quite resolves into words you can understand. The fishermen learned long ago not to approach. Instead, they would dip their oars quietly and row past, offering a respectful nod, and the singing would continue, soft as waves on sand. In certain coastal towns, there are stories of phantom bells. On still nights, when the air is heavy with moisture and everything seems suspended between sea and sky, people hear them. Church bells ringing from towns that slipped beneath the waves a century ago. The sound drifts up through the water, muffled and distant, calling to a congregation that no longer exists. Listen closely now. Can you hear them? That faint, sweet ringing, like memory itself taking shape and sound? Sailors have always believed in helpful spirits. Stories passed from ship to ship tell of gentle presences that guide lost vessels home. A light appearing when all other lights have failed. A sudden wind filling the sails at the moment of greatest need. A dolphin leading the way through fog to safe harbor. These are not explanations but experiences, felt deeply by those who spend their lives at sea, who understand that the ocean is alive in ways we cannot fully comprehend. There are mysteries, too. Ships found drifting with sails still set, everything in perfect order, but not a soul aboard. The tea still warm in cups. The logbook filled and up to the moment of, what? Where did the crew go? The sea keeps its secrets. These vessels drift until someone finds them, and then they become stories, puzzles without solutions, reminders that some things remain forever unknown. In Scottish settlements along the American coast, there are tales of selkies. Seal people who can shed their skins and walk on land as humans. Sometimes a fisherman would find a seal skin on the beach at dawn, smooth and perfect, still warm from the body that wore it. The stories say that if you keep the skin, the selkie must stay with you. But the wise fishermen always left the skins where they found them, understanding that some things are not meant to be held. On dark nights, when phosphorescence trails in the wake of boats, creating glowing ribbons in the black water, sailors once believed these were sea serpents. Great creatures moving beneath the surface, their bodies lit by their own strange light. Now we know it's tiny organisms, dinoflagellates responding to motion, but the old name remains in the stories. And who is to say the old sailors were entirely wrong? There is magic in bioluminescence, in life that creates its own light in the deepest darkness. Messages in bottles have traveled for decades, crossing entire oceans on currents we still don't fully understand. A sailor writes a note, seals it carefully, and sends it out into the world. Years later, someone on a distant shore finds it, reads words written by hands long since turned to dust. It's a kind of immortality, a conversation across time and space, carried by water and wind and chance. Sailors have their superstitions, rituals that provide comfort in an uncertain world. Never sail on a Friday. Always throw a coin overboard for luck. Speak well of the sea, even when it's cruel, because the ocean is listening, always listening. These traditions were not foolishness but wisdom, ways of showing respect to forces far greater than ourselves. Barrier islands hold stories of buried treasure. Pirates, the tales say, carried their gold to isolated dunes and buried it deep. Storms reshape these islands constantly, revealing and concealing, and sometimes, after a hurricane, someone finds a coin washed up on the beach. Spanish silver, English gold. Each piece a fragment of a story we can only imagine. Most of the treasure stays hidden, sinking deeper into the sand with every passing year, becoming part of the earth itself. Lighthouse cats were famous for predicting storms. They would pace and yell hours before the first clouds appear on the horizon. The keepers learned to trust them. When the cat grew restless, you prepared. You checked your supplies, secured loose items, made sure the lamp had extra fuel. The cat knew something, felt something in the air pressure or the Earth's magnetic field. Animals understand things we have forgotten how to sense. Walk along the beach after a storm, and you might find beach stones with perfectly circular holes worn through them. Some say these are lucky. Others say they're windows to another world. Hold one up to your eye and look through it at the ocean, and perhaps you'll see what the water wants you to see. Memories. Futures. The thin places where this world and other worlds touch. There are stories of whales who remember kindness. A whale tangled in nets, rescued by careful hands, will return years later to the same harbor, will swim close to the boat that saved it, offering what sailors swear is gratitude. The ocean remembers. The creatures remember. Every act of compassion ripples outward in ways we cannot measure. Along the tide line, you might discover something curious. Small, dark pouches with tendrils at the corners, leathery and strange. These are mermaids' purses, the egg cases of skates and sharks. Fishermen have long believed they bring good luck if you keep one in your pocket. The case protected new life as it grew in the ocean's darkness, and now it can protect you, a talisman from the deep carried close to your heart. Sailors far from home would create valentines for their loved ones, intricate designs made entirely from shells. They would arrange tiny spirals and fragments into perfect geometric patterns, gluing them inside wooden boxes lined with velvet or satin. Hearts and compasses, flowers and anchors, each shell chosen for its color and shape, placed with infinite patience during long voyages. These weren't just gifts but meditations, ways of staying connected to love across vast distances of water and time. On the beaches of Oregon and Washington, glass fishing floats sometimes wash ashore, carried on currents all the way from Japan. Perfect spheres of blown glass in blues and greens, wrapped in rope netting. They broke free from fishing nets years ago, perhaps decades ago, and drifted across the entire Pacific Ocean. Finding one is like receiving a message from another world, another culture, proof that everything is connected, that the ocean is a highway carrying treasures to unexpected shores. Dolphins have guided ships through dangerous waters for as long as humans have kept records. They appear alongside vessels, swimming at the bow, and sailors who follow them find safe passage through channels and reefs. The dolphins know the waters intimately, every depth and current, and they seem to understand when humans need help. Whether this is intelligence or instinct or something else entirely, the sailors don't question. They simply follow, grateful for the escort. There's an old legend of St. Elmo's fire, that eerie glow that sometimes appears on ship masts during storms. Sailors described it as dancing flames, blue and green, crackling and hissing but never burning. They believed it was a holy sign, a blessing from the patron saint of sailors, promising that the storm would pass, that the ship would survive. Science calls it corona discharge, electricity in the atmosphere, but on a dark night in heaving seas, it still feels like something more, like grace made visible. Sea glass tumbling in the waves tells its own story. Fragments of bottles and jars, worn smooth by decades of motion, frosted by sand until they glow like jewels. Some say these pieces are mermaids' tears, shed for sailors lost at sea, crystallized into something beautiful and permanent. Each shard of green or brown or rare blue is a small memorial, something broken made whole again by the patient work of water and time. Albatrosses follow ships for days, gliding on wings that barely need to move, riding the air currents created by the vessel's passage. Old sailors believed these great birds carried the souls of their drowned brothers, watching over those still at sea. You never harm an albatross. You share your food with them, speak to them respectfully. They are companions in the vast emptiness, reminders that you are not alone, that even in the middle of the ocean, life persists. Now let your attention drift down, away from the stories and legends, down to where the tide retreats and reveals tiny universes and pools among the rocks. Crouch low and look closely. Each tide pool is a complete world, no larger than a dinner plate, yet containing multitudes. The water is crystal clear, magnifying everything beneath its surface. Small fish dart between stones. Crabs scuttle sideways into crevices. And everywhere, life clings and grows and waits for the tide's return. Sea anemones wave their tentacles like underwater flowers, delicate fronds moving in the current. They look soft, inviting, but touch them and you'll feel the slight stick of their stinging cells, designed to capture prey too small for us to see. They come in colors nature seems to have invented just for them. Deep burgundy, bright green, coral pink. They contract when exposed to air, becoming tight little bumps, patient and waiting, knowing the water will return as it always does. At dawn, hermit crabs emerge from hiding to search for new shells. They've outgrown their current homes and need something larger. Watch one examine a shell, carefully turning it over, reaching inside with delicate claws to check the size. Too small. It continues searching. The beach is littered with possibilities, but the crab is particular. It needs the right fit, the right weight. Finally, it finds one. In a moment of vulnerability, it abandons its old shell and scrambles into the new one. Safe again. Protected. Ready to continue its patient life along the shore. Look beyond the tide pools now, to the rocks that rise above the waterline. harbor seals have hauled themselves out, their sleek bodies arranged on sun-warmed stone. They lie close together, occasionally shifting, their whiskers twitching as they doze. One lifts its head to glance at the water, then settles back down. There's no urgency here. The seals know the rhythm of their days. Rest when the sun is warm. Return to the sea when hunger calls. Their breathing is slow and even, rising and falling like the tide itself. Above the water, pelicans patrol the coastline in perfect formation. They fly low, wingtips nearly touching the surface, riding the cushion of air that forms between wing and wave. Then, suddenly, one spots fish below. It folds its wings and plunges, disappearing in a white splash. The others follow, each diving in turn, the whole flock working together in silent coordination. They surface with pouches full, water streaming from their beaks, and rise again to continue their ancient patrol. Channel markers stand in harbors and bays, metal poles topped with numbers and signs. But look closely at the very top. Osprey have built their nests there, massive tangles of sticks that grow larger each year. The birds return to the same nest season after season, adding branches, reinforcing, creating homes that can weigh hundreds of pounds. The young stand in the nest with wings spread, testing the air, learning the feel of wind before they take their first flight over the water below. In shallow water near the dock, moon jellyfish pulse and drift. They're nearly transparent, their simple bodies visible in the sunlight. For horseshoe-shaped gonads show through their bells like pale flowers pressed in glass. They move by contracting, pushing water behind them in gentle rhythmic pulses. There's no brain, no complex thought, just existence in its simplest form. Drifting, pulsing, carried by currents, one small part of the endless cycle. Return to the rocks at low tide, and you'll find sea stars clinging to stone. Purple ones. Orange ones. Ochre stars with rough, textured skin. They move so slowly you have to watch for long minutes to see any progress. Their hundreds of tube feet grip and release, pulling them across the rock face in search of mussels to eat. A sea star can pull open a mussel shell with patient, steady pressure that never relents. It can extend its stomach out of its body to digest its prey. Life takes many forms along the coast, some stranger than any story. Walk through the shallows at low tide, and you might step on something hard beneath the sand. Brush it away gently, and a sand dollar appears. Its surface is covered in tiny spines that help it burrow and move through the sand. The five-pointed star pattern on its back is actually its skeleton, visible through the thin skin. Living sand dollars are covered in velvety purple or brown spines. The white ones you find on the beach are only their bones, bleached by sun and salt, beautiful in death as they were in life. In the tidal marsh where fresh water meets salt, a great blue heron stands absolutely motionless in water up to its knees. Its neck is curved like a question mark. Its yellow eyes are fixed on the surface. Minutes pass. More minutes. Then, faster than thought, its head strikes down into the water and comes up with a fish held firmly in that long, sharp beak. The heron tilts its head back and swallows. Then it becomes still again, patience returned, willing to wait as long as necessary for the next meal. Fiddler crabs emerge from their burrows in the mudflats, hundreds of them, thousands, each one no bigger than a coin. The males have one claw enormously larger than the other, and they wave these oversized pincers in the air, beckoning, calling, displaying their strength. They scuttle sideways across the mud, feeding on detritus, watching for predators with eyes on stalks that swivel independently. At the first sign of danger, they all disappear at once, vanishing into their holes, leaving the mudflat suddenly, eerily empty. Off the coast of California, kelp forests sway in the current, and sea otters float on their backs among the fronds. They wrap themselves in kelp to keep from drifting while they sleep. Watch one use a rock to crack open a shellfish balanced on its chest. The sound carries across the water, a sharp tap tap tap. The otter eats the soft flesh inside, then tucks the rock into a fold of skin under its arm to save it for later. They are one of the few animals that use tools, passing knowledge down through generations, mothers teaching pups, the wisdom of the sea made visible. As night falls completely now, and the last light fades from the western sky, walk to the water's edge one more time. Wade into the shallows. As you move, the water around your feet begins to glow. Each step creates a burst of blue-green light that spreads and ripples. Tiny organisms called dinoflagellates are responding to your motion, creating light through chemical reactions in their microscopic bodies. This is bioluminescence, life's own light, and it transforms the dark water into something magical, something that belongs in dreams. Move your hand through the water and watch the sparkles trail from your fingers. The ocean is full of light, even in darkness, full of life that glows and persists and continues, always continues, like the waves themselves, like your breathing, slow and steady, in and out, as peaceful as sleep. Step back from the water now and look up to where sand dunes rise like waves frozen in time. Dune grass grows here, each blade thin and strong, bending in unified rhythm with the wind. Watch how they move together, thousands of individual plants creating one continuous motion, like a dancer's body swaying to music only the grass can hear. The sound they make is a whisper, a soft shushing that blends with the waves, another layer in the symphony of the shore. These grasses are survivors. Their roots reach deep into the sand, spreading wide beneath the surface, holding the dune together against wind and storm. Without them, the dunes would simply blow away, grain by grain, until nothing remained. But the grass persists. It bends but doesn't break. It gives way to the wind but always returns upright. There's wisdom in this flexibility, in knowing when to yield and when to stand firm. The dunes themselves are travelers. Over decades, over centuries, they migrate inland. Wind pushes sand up one side and deposits it on the other. Grain by grain, inch by inch, year by year, the dune moves. It buries forests. It covers old roads. It creates new landscapes and erases old ones. If you could watch in time-lapse, You would see the dunes flowing across the land like very slow water, reshaping everything they touch. Nothing is permanent here. Everything is always becoming something else. Walk along the firm sand at the water's edge where the tide has just retreated. Small holes appear in the sand, barely visible, no bigger than your little finger. These are the breathing holes of razor clams buried below. Step hard nearby and watch what happens. The clam feels the vibration through the sand and interprets it as danger, a predator approaching. It burrows deeper, pulling itself down with its muscular foot, moving with surprising speed for a creature with no eyes, no ears, just the ability to sense pressure and motion through the earth itself. The razor clam can dig faster than you can follow with your hands. It shoots downward, using its foot like an anchor, pulling its shell after it. In seconds it's beyond your reach, safe in the wet sand, waiting for the danger to pass. This is survival reduced to its essence. Feel the vibration. Go deeper. Wait. Survive. The clam needs nothing more than this, has needed nothing more for millions of years. As the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, watch for ghost crabs emerging from their burrows. They're called ghost crabs because they're pale, almost translucent, the color of sand itself, and because they move with such quick, jerky motions they seem to flicker in and out of existence. Their burrows are scattered across the upper beach, above the high tide line, perfectly round holes that can go down 3 or 4 feet. The crabs emerge at twilight, cautious at first. They pause at the entrance to their burrows, their stalked eyes rotating, scanning for threats. Then they scuttle out quickly, moving sideways with astonishing speed, stopping suddenly, perfectly still, then moving again. They're hunting for food, anything the tide brought in, anything dead or dying. They're nature's cleanup crew, recycling nutrients, keeping the beach clean. Watch one grab a piece of driftwood and drag it back to its burrow. They decorate their entrances, claiming territory, marking home. Among the dunes, sea oats grow taller than the other grasses, their seed heads drooping in graceful arcs. These plants are even more important than the dune grass for holding sand in place. Their roots form dense networks that bind the dune together. Without sea oats, many barrier islands would simply wash away in the first hurricane. They are guardians, these plants, holding the line between land and sea, their golden seed heads nodding in the breeze like wise elders who've seen everything the ocean can do and refuse to be impressed. The first light of dawn brings the laughing gulls, their calls echoing across the beach. They don't really laugh, but their cry does sound like someone chuckling, a rising and falling call that's both haunting and cheerful. They will overhead in loose flocks, dropping to the sand to investigate anything that might be food, then rising again on wings that catch the morning light. Their shadows pass over you like clouds, here and gone, here and gone. Gulls are survivors, adaptable and clever. They've learned to drop shellfish onto rocks and parking lots to break them open. They've learned to follow fishing boats and gather at dumpsters. They thrive in a world dominated by humans because they're willing to change, willing to try new things. There's no dignity in this survival, perhaps, but there's life, and life is what matters most. On certain nights each year, when the moon is full and the tide is high, horseshoe crabs come ashore to spawn. These ancient creatures, older than dinosaurs, unchanged for hundreds of millions of years, crawl up onto the beach in their thousands. The females dig shallow nests in the sand while the smaller males cling to their shells, fertilizing the eggs as they're laid. It's a scene from the distant past, something that's been happening on these beaches longer than there have been birds to watch it, longer than there have been humans to wonder at it. The crabs move slowly, ponderously, their helmet-like shells gleaming wet in the moonlight. They seem mechanical, like wind-up toys from some alien world. But they're alive, driven by instincts we can't begin to understand, compelled to return to shore at precisely the right time, the right tide. After spawning, they return to the sea, leaving millions of tiny eggs buried in the sand. Many will be eaten by shorebirds. Many will not hatch. But enough will survive to ensure another generation, another return, another full moon night when the beach becomes a pilgrimage site for creatures that predate almost everything we know. Wade into the shallows now and look closely at the rocks and pilings. They're covered in barnacles, small volcanoes of shells cemented permanently to the surface. When the tide is out, they seal themselves shut, holding water inside, waiting. But now, submerged, they open their plates and extend feathery legs that sweep the water, filtering out microscopic food. It's beautiful to watch, these tiny legs emerging and waving, rhythmic and graceful, each barnacle a small filter in the ocean's vast system of cleaning and recycling. Barnacles begin life as free-swimming larvae, drifting with the plankton. But when they're ready to settle, they cement their heads to a rock and build their shell fortress around themselves. They spend the rest of their lives upside down, standing on their heads, kicking food into their mouths with their legs. It's a strange existence, but it works. They survive where few other creatures can, in the pounding surf, exposed to air and water in turn, enduring everything the ocean offers. In the salt marsh where the bay meets the land, cordgrass grows in thick stands that turn the water's edge into a maze of green channels. The grass is bright green in summer, but as autumn arrives, it transforms. The green fades to gold, then to rust, then to the color of wheat fields ready for harvest. The entire marsh becomes a painting, amber and bronze under blue sky, beautiful in its dying. But this isn't death, not really. The cordgrass is simply preparing for winter. Its roots remain alive beneath the mud, drawing nutrients down, storing energy for spring. The dead stalks will break down over winter, feeding countless tiny organisms, enriching the marsh for the next generation. Nothing is wasted here. Everything cycles. Death feeds life feeds death feeds life, around and around, the wheel turning slowly but never stopping. Walk along the beach after the tide has pulled back, and notice the patterns left in the sand. Ripples, parallel lines that curve and flow like fingerprints, like the whorls on your own fingertips. These are made by water moving over sand, each grain pushed into place by current and wave, creating beauty as a side effect of motion. No two patterns are identical. Each patch of sand tells a different story about how the water moved, which way the current flowed, how strong the wind blew. These ripples are temporary, erased by the next tide, rewritten by the next storm. They exist for hours, perhaps for a day, and then they're gone. But new ones form immediately, the ocean never tiring of this art, this endless creation and destruction. There's something profound in this impermanence, in beauty that doesn't last, in patterns that form and dissolve and form again, never quite the same way twice. Sit in the sand now and let your fingers trail through it. Feel the individual grains, each one a tiny piece of rock worn down by countless years of tumbling in the waves. Some sand grains are quartz, some are feldspar, some are fragments of shells. Each grain is ancient, and together they form this beach, this soft place where land and sea negotiate their boundary. The sand shifts under your hand, cool and dry on top, damp and cool underneath, responding to your touch, moving aside, filling back in. Think about all the feet that have walked this beach. All the creatures that have crossed these sands. Dinosaurs, perhaps, in ages past when the continents were shaped differently. Native peoples who gathered shellfish and built fires. Early explorers seeing this coast for the first time. Fishermen hauling nets. Children building castles. Each one left their mark briefly, then the tide came and smoothed everything away, preparing the canvas for the next visitor, the next story. The beach keeps no record except in the deepest layers, the compressed sediment that will someday be stone. But in a sense, everything is remembered. Every step compressed the sand in some small way. Every wave rearranged the grains. Every wind shifted the dunes. The beach you see now is the sum of everything that's happened here, a palimpsest of events too numerous to count, all present in this moment, in this arrangement of sand and stone and shell. Let yourself fly back now, feeling the sand conform to your body, supporting you. Above, the sky is darkening from blue to indigo. The first stars are appearing, the same stars sailors used for navigation, the same patterns humans have watched since we first looked up and wondered. Cassiopeia, Ursa Major, Orion rising in the east. They will overhead in their eternal dance, marking time and movements too slow to see but never stopping, never resting. Listen to the waves. They're closer now as the tide returns. Each wave is different from the one before, but each follows the same pattern. The rush as it comes in, hissing over sand. The pause at full extension. The withdrawal, slower, dragging back, preparing for the next. Your breathing begins to match this rhythm without you trying. In with the wave. Out with the wave. In and out. In and out. This is the oldest rhythm, the heartbeat of the planet, the pulse that existed before life and will continue after. And for this moment, your breath is part of it. You are part of the ocean's respiration, connected to something vast and eternal and completely indifferent to your individual existence, yet somehow making space for you, accepting you, allowing you to rest here, to simply be. The afternoon air begins to change. Something shifts in the atmosphere, a coolness that wasn't there moments ago. Look toward the horizon and you'll see it beginning. The fog. It forms far out over the water, a gray wall that seems solid, as though you could walk up to it and lean against it. But it's not solid at all. It's moisture condensing in the air, millions of tiny droplets suspended together, moving as one entity, rolling in from the ocean like a slow blanket being pulled across the world. The fog doesn't rush. It drifts. It advances at its own pace, patient and inexorable. The farthest edge of the water disappears first, swallowed by gray. Then the middle distance. Then the near waves become dim, their sounds somehow closer but their shapes less distinct. The air grows thick and damp. Your skin feels it, a coolness that settles on your arms and face like the gentlest touch. As the fog envelopes the shore, everything changes. Colors fade. The vibrant blues and greens become muted, soft, dreamlike. Distance becomes impossible to judge. Objects appear and disappear. A rock 20 feet away vanishes completely, then emerges again as the fog shifts and thins and thickens. The world becomes smaller, more intimate. There's nothing beyond this circle of visibility. Nothing exists except what you can see in this moment, this small sphere of clarity in an ocean of gray. Sound changes too in the fog. Everything becomes muffled, softened, as though you're hearing the world through a blanket. The waves sound closer but less sharp. The cry of a gull is disembodied, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. And then, carried on the damp air, you hear it. The foghorn. That deep, mournful sound that seems to come from the very soul of the ocean itself. The foghorn is distant but perfectly clear. It sounds at regular intervals, a low note that rises slightly at the end, like a question being asked over and over. Are you there? Are you there? It's warning ships away from rocks and shallows, but it sounds like something more. Like the voice of the sea itself, calling to anyone who will listen. The sound is felt as much as heard, a vibration that moves through the fog, through the air, through your chest. There's loneliness in that sound, but also comfort. Someone is watching. Someone is warning. Even in this gray emptiness, even when you can't see more than a few feet in any direction, there are guardians still keeping their vigil, still calling out across the water. The foghorn sounds again, and you feel yourself relax into it, accepting it, letting it become part of the rhythm of this place. Walk slowly now, carefully, through the fog toward a cottage you can barely see. As you approach, you hear another sound mixing with the foghorn and the waves. Wind chimes. They hang from a weathered porch, and the ocean breeze makes them sing. It's a delicate sound, crystalline notes that seem impossibly bright in all this gray. Metal tubes touching, separating, touching again, creating music without intention, without effort, just responding to the wind the way everything here responds to the wind. The porch is old, the wood gray and smooth from decades of salt air and weather. Paint has flaked away in places, revealing older layers beneath. The wind chimes are simple, nothing fancy, but their song is perfect. Each breeze brings a different melody, a different combination of notes. Sometimes just two chimes touch, a single clear tone. Sometimes all of them sound together in a cascade of metallic shimmer. And sometimes the wind dies completely and the chimes hang silent, waiting, patient, knowing the breeze will return as it always does. Sit on the porch steps and watch the fog begin to thin. The sun is lowering somewhere behind that gray curtain, and though you can't see it directly, its light is changing the color of everything. This is the golden hour made softer, diffused through moisture until the light seems to come from everywhere at once. The fog takes on a warm glow, peach and gold and the palest amber. It's still gray, but it's a luminous gray now, lit from within. As minutes pass, the fog continues to thin and the true colors of sunset begin to emerge. The sky directly overhead remains pale, but toward the horizon, where the fog is breaking apart, you see streaks of color appearing. Rose pink, coral, the deep orange of a ripe peach. These colors intensify as the sun drops lower, painting the underside of the remaining fog banks in shades that seem too beautiful to be real. The transition is gradual but profound. Golden hour gives way to dusk, and the colors shift from warm to cool. The pinks and oranges fade to lavender and violet. The blue of the sky deepens, becoming richer, more saturated, the color of deep water. This is the blue hour, when everything is suspended between day and night, when the world holds its breath and waits for darkness to complete its arrival. Stand and walk back to the water's edge now, as the last light fades. The waves are still coming in, steady and rhythmic, but they're harder to see now. You feel them more than see them, the rush of water up the sand, the pull as it retreats. One wave crashes closer than the others, and suddenly you feel it. Salt spray misting your face. Tiny droplets carried by the wind, landing on your cheeks, your lips, your closed eyelids. The spray is cool and clean, tasting of salt and the deep ocean. It's refreshing but also bracing, a reminder that the sea is powerful, that these waves have traveled for miles, perhaps hundreds of miles, carrying energy across the open water to release it here, on this shore, in this moment. Breathe it in. Taste the salt on your lips. Feel the moisture on your skin. This is the ocean's breath, its gift, its touch. The waves continue their eternal rhythm, that sound that never stops, never pauses. The rhythmic shush of water on sand. It's not loud, not dramatic, just constant. Reliable. Each wave sounds slightly different from the last, but they all follow the same pattern. The initial rush, powerful but not violent. The spread across the sand, water reaching as far as it can. The pause, that moment of stillness before gravity reclaims it. And then the retreat, slower than the advance, dragging back, carrying sand with it, preparing for the next wave. Your breathing has matched this rhythm without you realizing it. In with the wave. Out with the wave. Your chest rises and falls in perfect synchronization with the ocean. This is how meditation happens naturally, not through effort but through surrender. The ocean breathes, and you breathe with it, and for these moments you are not separate from the water, from the sand, from the slowly darkening sky. You are part of it all, one small piece of this vast, living system. Farther down the beach, you see a small fire. Bonfire smoke drifts horizontally in the ocean breeze, a thin gray stream that moves parallel to the water's edge. The smoke doesn't rise straight up the way fire smoke does inland. Here, the wind is constant, and the smoke bends to it immediately, streaming away like a flag, like a signal. You can smell it even from this distance, that particular scent of burning driftwood, salt-soaked and different from any other smoke. Walk closer to the fire, feeling the warmth as you approach. Someone has built this fire carefully, arranging driftwood in a cone, feeding it slowly to keep it steady. The flames are yellow and orange with occasional bursts of green and blue where salt in the wood reacts with the heat. The fire crackles and pops, sparks rising only to be caught immediately by the wind and carried away like tiny orange stars. Sit near the fire, close enough to feel its warmth but not so close that the heat is uncomfortable. Behind you, the ocean continues its rhythm. In front of you, the fire dances and shifts, never the same from one moment to the next. The smoke streams past, and you catch whiffs of it, that wood smoke scent mixing with the salt air, creating a smell that is quintessentially coastal, that speaks of evening gatherings and quiet conversations and the simple pleasure of warmth against the cooling night. Stand and walk away from the fire now, down to where the waves are reaching. Take off your shoes and let your feet sink into the wet sand. The coolness is immediate and wonderful, shocking at first, then soothing. The wet sand under bare feet is one of the purest pleasures, simple and immediate. Your feet sink in slightly with each step, the sand conforming to your shape, holding you, supporting you. Walk along the water's edge, letting the waves wash over your feet occasionally. The foam is white even in the growing darkness, easy to see as it rushes up and retreats. Each time a wave reaches you, the water is cold, colder than the air, and it makes you catch your breath slightly. But it's not unpleasant. It's invigorating. It's real. This is not a meditation exercise or a visualization. This is the actual ocean, actually touching your actual skin, and the connection is direct and undeniable. As you walk, you notice driftwood scattered along the high tide line. Pieces of wood that have been in the ocean for months, maybe years, tumbling in the surf, stripped of their bark, worn smooth by sand and salt. They're bleached silver by sun and salt, pale as bone, beautiful in their simplicity. Each piece is a sculpture created by chance and time, shaped by forces that never intended to create art but created it anyway. Pick up a piece of driftwood and feel its weight, its smoothness. Run your fingers over the grain, worn but still visible. The wood is light, dried by sun after the ocean gave it up. Some pieces are straight. Some are curved into fantastic shapes. Some have holes worn through them. Some are twisted like dancers frozen mid-movement. You could collect these pieces, take them home, but there's something right about leaving them here, about letting them continue their journey, being moved by the next high tide, continuing their slow transformation from tree to driftwood to eventually, after many more years, to nothing at all. Continue walking, and the smell reaches you before you see them. Beach roses. They grow where the sand meets the land, tough shrubs with thorns and leathery leaves adapted to survive salt spray and wind. But in early summer, they bloom, and their smell is extraordinary. It's the smell of roses, yes, but wilder, fresher, mixed with the salt air and the particular scent of the plants themselves. The smell of beach roses in full bloom is the smell of summer by the sea, concentrated and perfect. The roses glow softly in the failing light. Pink and white petals, simple flowers with 5 petals each, not the complex blooms of garden roses but something simpler, more honest. They don't last long, these blooms. A few weeks at most. But while they're here, they transform the edge of the beach into a garden, proof that beauty persists even in the harshest conditions, that life adapts and thrives and creates wonder wherever it can take root. The night deepens now, but not completely. The sky still holds a memory of day, that deep blue that comes before true darkness. Turn toward the east, where tomorrow is already beginning its slow approach, and imagine what the morning will bring. Imagine yourself here at dawn, standing in exactly this spot, watching as the first light touches the water. Sunrise over the ocean is different from sunrise over land. There's no gradual brightening behind hills and trees. The sun emerges directly from the water, as if the ocean itself is giving birth to light. First comes the anticipation, that lightening of the sky that starts long before the sun actually appears. The horizon becomes distinct, a line separating water from sky. The darkness fades to deep blue, then to lighter blue, then to colors that have no names. Peach. That's the color that arrives first. Not orange, not pink, but something softer, gentler. The color of ripe fruit, of coral, of the inside of certain shells. It spreads across the sky in horizontal bands, each shade slightly different from the one above it. And then comes lavender, that impossible color that seems too delicate to be real, mixing with the peach and the remaining blue to create combinations that last only minutes before shifting into something else entirely. The water reflects all of this. The ocean becomes a mirror, doubling the colors, intensifying them. Near the horizon, where the reflection is strongest, the water glows with peachy gold. Closer to shore, where the water is shallower and you can see the sand beneath, the colors are tinged with green and turquoise. The whole world is painted in pastels, soft and new, like a promise being made, like hope given visible form. But the light brings something else too. As the sun climbs higher, the air begins to change. There's weight to it suddenly, a heaviness that wasn't there before. The humidity is rising, thickening the air, making it feel substantial against your skin. This is coastal air before a storm, laden with moisture, pressing down, making everything feel closer, more immediate. Your lungs fill with this thick air, and breathing becomes more conscious, more deliberate. Each breath is work, but not unpleasant work. The air tastes different now, not just of salt but of electricity, of ozone, of something building in the atmosphere. The ocean knows the storm is coming before you do. The waves begin to build, growing slightly larger, slightly more insistent. The wind picks up, no longer a steady breeze but something with gusts, something with intention. The beach grass responds to this changing wind. Listen to it. The whisper has become louder, more urgent. The blades bend and straighten, and the sound they make is like voices, like conversations being held just below the threshold of understanding. If you could slow down time, if you could really listen, perhaps you would understand what the grass is saying. But the meaning stays just out of reach, remaining suggestion, remaining mystery. The grass whispers about the storm that's coming, about the high tide that will reach farther up the beach than usual, about the birds that have already left, sensing the pressure change, about the crabs retreating deeper into their burrows. The grass whispers about survival, about bending instead of breaking, about how to endure when forces far greater than yourself bear down. The grass has weathered countless storms and will weather countless more, and its whispers carry this ancient knowledge, this patient wisdom. But even as the storm approaches, the waves maintain their rhythm. This is perhaps the most remarkable thing about the ocean, this constancy within change. The waves may grow larger or smaller, they may arrive faster or slower, but they never stop. The pulse continues, steady as a heartbeat. In fact, it is a heartbeat. The planet's heartbeat, regular and eternal, the rhythm that underlies everything. Sit down in the sand again and close your eyes. Don't look at the waves. Just listen. Just feel. Each wave arrives with that rush of sound, that shush of water sliding over sand. Feel it in your body, that arrival, that release. Then the pause. Then the retreat. The pattern is hypnotic. Your heart begins to slow, matching itself to this older, steadier pulse. Your breathing deepens, syncing with the in and out, the advance and retreat, the eternal give and take between water and land. This rhythm has been here for billions of years. It was here before life emerged from the ocean. It was here before land plants colonized the shore. It was here before any creature developed ears to hear it. And it will be here long after humans are gone, long after our cities have crumbled and been reclaimed by forest and sea. The waves will still be coming in, still retreating, still marking time in the only way the ocean knows. Open your eyes now, and the day is past. Evening has arrived while you were lost in the rhythm. The sun has set, and the storm never came, or perhaps postponed itself, deciding to arrive some other day. The sky is clear, and the moon is rising, nearly full, enormous on the horizon. Watch it climb, watch it shrink as it rises, losing that magnified appearance it has when first emerging from the sea. The moon's light is different from the sun's. It's cooler, quieter, more subtle. It doesn't illuminate so much as suggest. Things are visible but not clearly. Shapes are evident but details are lost. The beach under moonlight becomes a place of silver and shadow, beautiful in its simplicity. And on the water, the moon creates its ancient magic. A silver path appears, stretching from the horizon directly to the shore where you stand. It moves with you as you walk, always pointing toward you, always creating this personal road across the water. The moon path is made of reflected light dancing on the ripples in small waves, breaking into a million small flashes that together create the illusion of solidity. You could walk on it, you think. You could step onto that silver road and walk out across the ocean all the way to the horizon. Children believe this. They believe they could walk on the moon path if they could just get to where it starts. Adults know better, know it's just light and water, know it's an illusion. But there's still something compelling about it, something that calls to a part of us that existed before we learned about physics and optics. The moon path is an invitation to somewhere else, somewhere magical, somewhere we can't quite reach but can always imagine. Turn away from the water and walk to where large rocks line the shore, placed deliberately to slow erosion, to protect the land behind from the sea's patient hunger. During the day, these rocks were hot, warmed by hours of sun beating down on their dark surface. Touch one now. It's still warm, but the heat is fading. The rock is slowly releasing the energy it absorbed, giving it back to the cooling night air. Sit on one of these rocks and feel the warmth beneath you. It seeps into your body, into your muscles, relaxing tension you didn't know you were carrying. The stone is smooth from years of waves washing over it, comfortable despite being hard. Let yourself recline against it, letting it support your weight, feeling it hold you the way the sand held you earlier, the way everything here seems designed to support, to comfort, to allow rest. The rock cools gradually under you, but it takes a long time. Stone holds heat well, releasing it slowly. You can feel the warmth diminishing, degree by degree, the rock becoming cooler, more neutral, finding equilibrium with the night air. It's a physical reminder of how everything seeks balance, how hot and cold, light and dark, all move toward the middle, toward harmony. In the distance, in the small harbor beyond the point, you can hear sounds carrying across the water. The soft clinking of sailboat masts. Metal fittings and lines tapping against aluminum masts in rhythm with the slight motion of boats rocking in their slips. It's a peaceful sound, musical, like wind chimes but lower, more resonant. Each boat has its own rhythm, its own particular combination of sounds, and together they create a symphony of small metallic notes. The sound speaks of boats at rest after a day of sailing, of sails furled and tied, of people below deck making dinner or already asleep in their bunks. The harbor is a safe place, protected from the open water, and the boats rest there like birds in a nest, gently rocking, gently singing their quiet song. Lick your lips and taste the salt that's accumulated there. It's been building all day, deposited by spray and wind, crystallizing on your skin. The taste is strong and clean, unmistakably ocean. This is the same salt that preserves food, that makes ice cream freeze, that our bodies need to survive. We came from the ocean originally, all life did, and we still carry the ocean inside us, in our blood, in our tears, in the salt concentration of our cells. Tasting this salt is tasting connection, tasting history, tasting the fact that you are made of the same elements as the sea, that you are not separate from this place but part of it, temporarily organized into human shape but ultimately made of water and salt and minerals that will one day return to the cycle, be scattered and reformed, become part of something else. This should be frightening but somehow isn't. Somehow it's comforting, this knowledge that you belong here, that you are home in the deepest possible sense. Look up now. The stars are emerging, one by one, like lights turning on in a vast city. First the brightest ones, the ones that can compete with the last glow of day. Then the dimmer ones, filling in the gaps. Then more and more, until the sky is full of light, thousands of stars visible now that darkness is complete and your eyes have adjusted. These stars are the same ones sailors used for navigation, the same ones ancient peoples used to mark the seasons, to know when to plant and harvest, to understand their place in the cosmos. The stars will overhead in patterns that seem fixed but are actually moving, rotating around the pole, making one complete circle every day. But from moment to moment, from hour to hour, they seem perfectly still, eternal, unchanging. Find a constellation you recognize. Orion perhaps, or the Big Dipper, or Cassiopeia in her chair. These are friends, familiar shapes in the vast strangeness of space. The light you're seeing left those stars years ago, decades ago, centuries ago. You're looking at the past, at light that began its journey before you were born, light that has been traveling through empty space all this time just to reach your eyes in this moment. The darkness is complete now, and if you return to the water's edge, you'll witness something extraordinary. Wade back into the shallows one more time. Move your hand through the water slowly, deliberately. Watch what happens. Where your hand cuts through the surface, light appears. Blue-green phosphorescence trails from your fingers like liquid starlight, glowing and pulsing in the darkness. This is the same bioluminescence you saw earlier, but it's more visible now, more dramatic against the complete darkness. Every small wave breaking on the shore creates a line of pale green light. Every splash sends up sparks. The water itself seems alive with light, seems to be made of light. Move your feet and watch the glow swirl around your ankles. The millions of tiny dinoflagellates are responding to your motion, creating their chemical light, transforming you into a creator of beauty just by moving through the water. Stand still and the glow fades quickly, the organisms settling back into dormancy. But move again and it returns instantly, this magic, this light from life itself. You could stay here for hours, creating patterns in the water, writing your name in light that lasts only seconds before fading, a signature that exists and then doesn't, temporary as everything else. Walk up from the water now, back toward the line where beach becomes land, where scattered houses face the ocean. Even in darkness you can smell it. Cedar. The houses here are sided with cedar shingles, silvered by salt and sun just like the driftwood, and they give off a distinctive scent, particularly at night when the wood is cooled and the moisture in the air draws out the aroma. It's a clean smell, woody and complex, the smell of trees and time. This cedar scent mingles with another smell, one you've been breathing all day without fully noticing. Seaweed. The piles of kelp and rockweed at the high tide line give off their own particular aroma, briny and organic, the smell of things growing and decaying, the smell of the tide's bounty left behind. Together, cedar and seaweed create an olfactory signature that means coast, that means ocean, that could be nowhere else on Earth. Breathe deeply. Take it in. This smell will stay in your memory, attached to this place, this night, this moment. Years from now, if you smell cedar and seaweed together, you'll be instantly transported back here, to this beach, to this darkness, to this feeling of peace and connection and rightness. Imagine now the dawn that will come in just a few hours. The morning mist that will form as the water, still holding yesterday's warmth, meets the cooler air of night. The mist will hover just above the surface, a thin layer like gauze, like the ocean's breath made visible. The sunrise will light it from below, turning it gold and pink, and the water will seem to be steaming, giving off its warmth, its moisture, its essence into the waiting air. That mist will last only minutes before the sun burns it away. But while it exists, it will transform the coast into something ethereal, something not quite real. Boats will emerge from it like ghosts. Distant headlands will appear to float. Everything will be soft, dreamlike, as though you're seeing the world through layers of silk. But that's tomorrow's magic. Tonight's magic is different. Think back to the sunset you watched earlier, that gradual deepening of blue as day ended. It wasn't sudden, wasn't a switch being flipped. It was gradual, almost imperceptible from moment to moment, but profound when you compared the beginning to the end. The bright blue of afternoon slowly enriching, deepening, becoming the saturated blue of twilight, then the dark blue of early night, then the blue-black of full darkness, until finally the blue disappeared entirely and only black remained, black and stars. That deepening was like watching consciousness itself prepare for sleep. The bright awareness of day slowly dimming, thoughts becoming less sharp, less urgent, the world becoming softer and less defined. The transition from waking to sleeping is like the transition from day to night. Gradual, natural, inevitable. Nothing to fear. Just a change in state, a different way of being. Walk now toward the harbor, toward the small fishing docks where boats rest for the night. In daylight, the docks are busy with activity, but now they're quiet, peaceful. Fishing nets hang from racks, drying in the night air. You can see their silhouettes against the slightly lighter sky, their weave creating patterns, their weight pulling them into gentle curves. These nets have hauled in countless fish, have been mended countless times, have been thrown and retrieved, day after day, year after year. The nets smell of salt and fish and work. They're tools, yes, but there's something beautiful about them too, about their construction, the way thousands of knots create this flexible web, this trap made of string that can hold hundreds of pounds yet fold into almost nothing. Look at the nets long enough and they stop being utilitarian and become art, become sculpture, become meditation on connection and pattern and the spaces between. Listen. The sound of rope creaking against wooden posts carries across the quiet harbor. The boats are tied to the dock with thick lines, and as the boats rock gently with the water's motion, the rope moves against the wood, creating a slow, rhythmic creaking. It's a peaceful sound, speaking of things secured, things safe, things at rest. The rope is strong enough to hold the boats through storms, but now it's doing easy work, just keeping them close to home while they rest. And there, carried on the breeze from somewhere down the beach, you hear something unexpected. Distant laughter. People somewhere are gathered, are talking, are enjoying the night. You can't hear their words, just the sound of their voices, the rise and fall of conversation, the occasional burst of laughter. It's comforting, this reminder that other humans are nearby, but distant enough that they don't intrude, don't disturb. You're alone but not isolated. Part of the world but separate from it. Connected but free. The laughter fades, or perhaps the wind shifts and carries it in a different direction. The silence returns, or what passes for silence here, because the waves never stop, never pause. They continue their rhythm in the darkness, visible now only as lines of white foam, as sounds and feelings more than sights. Look up one more time. The first star you noticed earlier when the sky was still partly light has been joined by thousands more. But that first star holds special significance. It appeared when day and night were balanced, when anything seemed possible. That first star is always a moment of transition, a promise that night is truly arriving, that rest is coming, that the day's work is done. Ancient peoples made wishes on the first star. They believed it held power, that moment when light appears in darkness, when hope manifests in the void. Whether or not that's true doesn't matter. What matters is the act of noticing, of paying attention, of marking the transition from one state to another. The first star is a teacher, reminding us to notice change, to honor transitions, to recognize that beginnings and endings are happening all the time, all around us, if we're awake enough to see them. But now, it's time to let go of watching, of noticing, of paying attention. Now is the time to simply be, to feel, to rest. Stand at the edge of the beach, at that place where land and sea negotiate their eternal boundary, and understand something important. You are not a visitor here. You are not separate from this place. You are made of the same elements as the water, the sand, the salt. You breathe the same air that's been breathed by millions of creatures over millions of years. You stand on ground that was once ocean floor and will be ocean floor again, given enough time. Right now, in this moment, you might feel like the only person on this vast beach, and perhaps you are. Perhaps everyone else has gone inside, closed their doors, turned on their lights. Perhaps you're the last one here, the last witness to this particular night on this particular shore. There's something profound in this aloneness, something that goes beyond loneliness into a different territory entirely. It's a feeling of being chosen, of being trusted with this moment, of being the one person awake and aware while the world sleeps. But you're not truly alone. The beach is full of life. Crabs in their burrows. Fish in the offshore waters. Gulls roosting on pilings and rocks. Seals hauled out on distant ledges. All of these creatures are here with you, living their own lives, following their own rhythms, existing in their own ways. You're part of this community of life, this gathering of beings at the edge of land and sea. The waves continue. They've been continuing this whole time, through every word, every thought, every observation. The waves don't care about your attention or your interpretation. They simply are. They come and they go and they come again, eternal and patient and utterly indifferent to anything except the pull of the moon and the push of the wind and the depth of the water beneath them. Your breathing has slowed even more now. You're taking deeper breaths, longer breaths, breaths that fill your entire body. With each inhale, you're breathing in the night, the salt, the peace of this place. With each exhale, you're releasing tension, releasing thought, releasing the need to be anything other than what you are in this moment. The rhythm of waves and the rhythm of breath have become one. You can't tell where the ocean ends and you begin. The boundary has dissolved. You are the ocean. The ocean is you. The waves are moving through you, through your body, through your lungs, through your mind. In and out. In and out. Coming and going. Arriving and leaving. The eternal rhythm continuing. 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 The darkness is complete now. The stars will overhead in their ancient patterns. The moon has climbed higher, smaller now, but still bright. Still lighting that silver path across the water. The path that leads to dreams. To rest. To peace. The waves continue their work. Washing the shore clean. Smoothing the sand. Erasing all marks. Preparing the beach for tomorrow. But tomorrow is a long time away. Tomorrow is not important now. Only this moment exists. This wave. This breath. This heartbeat. Your body is heavy now. Relaxed completely. Supported by the earth. The sand. The stone. Everything holding you. Everything supporting you. You are safe here. Safe and held and cared for by forces older than memory. Older than thought. The ocean has been here forever. And will be here forever. And you are part of it. Part of this eternal cycle. This endless rhythm. Let yourself drift now. Let yourself float. The ocean is holding you. Rocking you gently. The way it rocks boats in the harbor. The way it rocks shells on the bottom. The way it rocks everything in its embrace. You are being rocked to sleep by the oldest mother. The original mother. The ocean that gave birth to all life. That still holds all life. That will continue holding forever. The waves come in. And the waves go out. And you breathe in. And you breathe out. And the rhythm continues. And continues. And continues. Into darkness. Into silence. Into perfect peace. Into sleep. If this peaceful journey through nature's wonders helped you drift into deep, restful sleep, thank you for joining me tonight. If you love these serene American Serenity videos, hit that subscribe button and the bell so we can unwind together every week. Sweet dreams. See you in the next calm moment.